There, folks. Welcome to Shaky Hands Workshop. I'm Brian, for those of you new here. But anyway, I've got today we're going to be going over how I make terrain boards. This is just a very basic construction of terrain boards. Not an overly complicated process. You can adapt this in a lot of different ways because you're going to be adding in, you can add in like hills and that type of thing and still get a similar effect. This is, again, real basic, flat surface, and then you get a nice texture surface to put on your scattered terrain and the like on there. All right, so let's get to the let's turn the camera down and I'll show you how I go about doing this. So I went ahead and squared up a 2x2 piece of insulation foam. This is 1 inch thick. This is my preferred medium to use for any type of terrain boards like this. Gives me a nice little extra depth. It's lightweight, easy to store. I've never used MDF. I've seen guys like the Terrain Tutor and such use MDF, but that's I try and shy away from power tools as much as I can, especially with the weather here in Western Washington. I'm going to start by sealing this with just some spackle. I'm going to thin this down with some water. I'm going to add some water into this, thin it down a little bit, and then I'll actually be putting a couple layers on this to get it to where it's nice and sealed. And then once that's all dry, then we'll go back and we'll start putting on some PVA and some fine sand. So for right now, let's go ahead and get a little bit of water going in here. And I just bought this thing today, and this is just straight up tap water. And so I've added probably about, I don't know, about half a nail's worth of water into this. And this is going to be just enough to kind of get the spackle kind of softened up to where it's more pliable with a brush that's easier to apply. The reason we want to seal this now is because later on when I start putting on different washes and that type of thing, I want this thing to not soak up a bunch of extra stuff. Plus, it adds to the rigidity of the board and extends the life of the board. All right, so we're just going to start again. It's going to be really thin right now, just enough to kind of get things moving, and then let's kind of go from there. Nothing fancy, nothing too out of the norm, but yeah, if you've never built terrain boards like this before, yeah, give it a shot. It's gives you the ability to create a lot of different specific like terrain objectives and that type of thing. And that was one of the things that kind of got me going into working with these boards like this, because I could start making very specific battlefield objectives, or like an entire battlefield scenario that's going to be different than just your standard go here, capture this waypoint or whatever. And we're just going to let this dry for right now, and we'll come back to it once it's all dried up and ready for another layer. So here we go. This is all dried up. It's looking pretty good. I went ahead and did the edges too. I want to kind of toughen those up a little bit. Still, probably going to cover those in maybe some tape or something. I'm not sure yet. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and do the top. And I'm going to do a basic 50-50 PVA, or in this case it's Elmer's or white glue, and I'm going to do some water with it as well to get my initial coat down of glue, and then I'll cover this with some sand. Yeah, I'll be good to start. So we're just gonna about a 50-50 mix, something like that. And I don't have a calibrated eyeball for 50-50. It's about as, does that look good? Yep. Okay. Let's go from there. And then adjust accordingly. Yeah, it's a little thin, I think. So let's add a little bit more. There we go. All right. Now it's just going to be putting this stuff down. Got bristle in there. And we're just going to go through and cover the whole thing in this glue water mixture. All right. Let that sit, get some more stuff ready, and then I'll go ahead and finish doing the rest of this. And I'll get back to you as soon as I'm done with that. So there we go. Got it all sanded, and had to go back and touch up a few areas I missed, but not too shabby. We'll see how this turns out in the morning, and because I'm going to let this dry overnight. I've rushed this before and it's never turned out good. So let drying times, it's just one of those things with terrain making, you just have to let it do its thing. You can put fans on and all that to try and speed it up, but I'm not sure how much you really gain from it. So anyway, I'll let this go, and then in the morning we'll hit this with some alcohol and another layer of PVA and water and let that dry, and then we'll move on to painting. Well, good morning, folks. So this is sat overnight. Yeah, I noticed a few little patches that I missed during my initial application. So as I go through and put a second layer of the glue mixture, I added a little bit of a flow aid solution that I've got. So I can go back and touch up some of a couple of these bald spots, and then basically just give the whole thing one more coat of the glue water mixture, and then I'll just let that sit and dry. And then once we get that, then we'll get on to painting. All right. All right, folks. Well, it's amazing what a little time under the sun will do for you. So I'm gonna use some cheap crafts paint to do the board. If you're doing a large volume, either go with crafts paint, or if you want to look at actual probably money savings, then you probably want to look at some type of like house paint. If you thin it a little bit, it should be just fine. For this, I'm using the Craftsmart brown and just a touch of black. And the reason being is I want it to be just a little bit darker, because in my head for 40K I always think of things have got I don't know, everything just seems grim and dark and all that stuff. So go ahead and get that feel from the get-go. So right now I'm just mixing these two up. I didn't add a whole lot of black to it because this doesn't really need it. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of water to this. Kind of thin this down just a little bit. I see, even with the black added to it, it gives a nice darker color. And I'm definitely going to need to make some more of this stuff. But yeah, this is how this is going to be my base color. And then I want to try and work up a couple of different highlights, or not highlights, a couple different dry brushes on the way up. One of the things to remember that because there's some water and stuff in this, it can reactivate the PVA that's already down. So go through it. Don't spend a lot of time on there, or you could cause some of the sand and stuff to rehydrate and then move on you. And yeah, that to me would just suck. So get some coverage down and just keep moving on. All right, I'm going to go ahead and keep working this over, and I'll get back to you as soon as I get this whole board with the base color. So I got into almost done, and I ran out. So one of these pots, this is a 2x2 square. Even though this is 2 ounces, not enough, not with the sand and stuff on it. So I did some digging around, and I have this labeled as burnt umber. This is basically this is house paint with some water in it. I don't think it's truly burnt umber. It's probably just a brown. So we're gonna throw this in here and see if I need to tint it with some more black to try and match it as best I can. And but even though this is already thinned a little bit, I may add a little bit more water. The main reason to thin the house paint is because it's so thick. My previous battle boards that I've made, I've used exclusively house paints, and the durability on those is really, really good. So yeah, let me see what this looks like. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to tint this bigger than anything. But yeah, we'll give this this little tint and maybe just a touch of water, maybe. Oh, it looks pretty thin as it is. Also adding the so I apologize for all the background noise. It's Sunday, and everybody's going to be out mowing lawns and let the dogs out and all that type of stuff. So okay, well, that's a completely different shade. So we'll get this all laid out here and see what this is going to look like when it's done. And I may have to go back over the entire thing just so it all matches. Is it really required? According to my OCD, yes it is. All right, guys. I'm going to press on with this, and then I will be back with you as soon as this thing resolves itself. There we go. One finished board. Not too bad. Yeah. A friend of mine said it looks like asphalt. I could see that, but I was trying to go for the churned look from like artillery and bombardment and that type of thing. But yeah. So there you go. That's pretty straightforward. The biggest issue with this is the drying time. A lot of what I was dealing with is just a matter of just waiting. Now when you go to put on layers of paint and stuff, that can be a bit of a stretch as far as drying goes, but I think the end results are worth it. And like I said before, there's really no wrong way to do it. This is just the way I do it, and overall, I'm pretty happy with the results that I'm able to get out of it. All right, well, enough rattling, enough rattling around with for this old guy. So I will talk to you folks later. Y'all stay safe and have a great day. Bye.